Hey, Thomas Tapp here, and today we have an awesome tutorial for you. We're going to be learning the front handspring. This one's been requested pretty frequently, and the front handspring is one of those acrobatic moves that's going to be one of your foundation, one of your beginner level acrobatic moves. So it's important that we learn this, and we learn it first before going into more extreme acrobatics like front flips, back flips, things like this. Now, if you don't learn your front handspring, and if you don't learn the front handspring with good technique, proper technique, you're going to run into the problem where you constantly land on your back when you're trying to do front handsprings. You're never going to advance to those higher level flips and have good technique because you haven't learned the front handspring properly. So let's make sure to learn the right technique, follow the gradual progression steps I'm going to show you in this, and then I'm going to share with you common problems with the front handspring and how to fix them pretty easily in this video. Now, first things first, before we even get started with the front handspring, we want to try to have these prerequisites down first. You want to get your handstand down. If you look at the front handspring and mini flips, you're going through this handstand motion, so it's really important to have good handstand technique. Another one is the back bridge, and then also your front roll and your round off. And then if you can, perform a walkover. These are great prerequisites to learn to develop the strength and technique. This will make learning the front handspring 10 times easier if you have these moves. And I'll share with you some links to tutorials on these prerequisites at the end of this video. Another thing we want to do before we get started is to warm up properly. We want to have our joints and everything ready to go so we don't get any injuries. Main problem areas for people in the front handspring is the wrists, the shoulders, and the core. So we really want to focus on this, and I'm going to share with you a warm-up that you can do at the end of this video as well. The other thing is you want to make sure you have a nice, safe area to train in. If you can go to a gym, that's perfect. For me, I had to train in my backyard, so a soft patch of grass, wood chips, rubber, things like this is a great place to start and learn this front handspring. All right, with the technique, we want to start off, first you want to think about a few principles or a few main things, and that is keeping your body nice and tight. So you want your body to work for you, not against you. So if you keep your body tight and the muscles tight here, especially with the core, another thing is also keeping everything straight and the joints aligned. This allows you to let your body do the work for you. You let your structure do the work for you. If you have your arms bent here, you're going to collapse in and your muscles are going to have to use too much work. So remember that. We're going to keep everything tight and then also everything aligned so that way our structure is performing most of the work. A big one is a lot of people like to put their arms too far wide. You want to keep them nice and close to your ears as we go into this. Okay, so the first step, you're going to jog 3 to 4 steps, and then you go into your hurdle step. Your hurdle step looks like this. I'll link to the round off where we talked more about the hurdle step, but you're jumping off one leg, landing on it, and going into a lunge. This lunge needs to be nice and far, and again, everything's nice and straight here. When we go into the lunge here, that's where you place the arms close to the ears. So we're in this position here. From here, we're going to reach out far. A lot of people make the mistake of putting their hands too close. If we do this, we're not going to be able to perform the front handspring properly. So we reach out far after that lunge. And then from here, we're driving this back leg. We're leading with this leg up and over. Driving up. Once our leg reaches the top, once you reach the handstand position, we're going to take the other leg and have it meet. So it's going to be here. Once we reach, this is a really big one about the technique, once our feet hit that handstand position, and they're just going over our head here, that's where you want to perform the shoulder push or the shoulder shrug here. That's where you get that extra height. So you go in and you have a slight bend in the elbows here, just very small, and we're going to push up like that. Once we get that down good, that's where we get more height and more spring. So our feet are over, we do a push, we have our legs close together, and this is when we're also arching here. So you'll notice as I'm going over, my legs and my body is still tight, but I have an arch, and I use that push, I whip back around, and I land on my toes here. So in the landing, you want to make sure to land on the balls of the feet, absorb. You can have a slight bend in the knees so you can absorb there, and then we're walking out, or we're running out, or going into our next routine. So another thing you want to think about is a lot of people will fall on their backs here and won't be able to rotate over. This is sometimes due to the head position. So if your head's turned here, this is going to curve your spine and make it impossible really to get that good arch, because the arch there is pretty key for getting the front handspring. Make sure to keep the head neutral here. We want it to be in line here, so that way when we're going up, we can land on our feet and spring back up. And that's again where getting the things like the back bridge and getting that flexibility really helps with this move. All right, now that we've learned the technique, let's break down some gradual progression steps, because just knowing the technique can be difficult, but these gradual progression steps are going to help us get more confident and more comfortable with this move. So the first thing is we need to get comfortable just going forward and rotating in a forward direction. So an easy way to do this is just to learn your front roll. Just squat down, go on the shoulders, and get comfortable with that front roll. It's pretty basic. Then from there, and this one gradual progression step I think is probably the best one you can train. I picked this up from a gymnast online on YouTube. And you start off in your lunge here, and you're going to make sure that your knees on the ground here, have the feet or the toes pointed on the ground so they're activated on the ground here. And what we're going to do is practice going from here into your handstand position. So you're going to reach forward, go into that handstand and meet, and kick the other leg back to meet it. So it's just going to look like this. Hands by the ears, using that same technique that we talked about before, reaching up and going into that handstand. If you have the strength to do that, you can go over. It's going to be a lot easier. Now I just went to the side on that one. That's the other prerequisite that we're going to work on. So once you get that, another thing you can also do is, if this is too much, stand up and do the same thing. Work on that lunge and driving just to that handstand. So you get comfortable with that, it's going to help a lot. Once you start to feel comfortable with that, we want to add a little bit more speed. So we want to step, kick into the handstand, but then turn to the side, kind of like we're bailing out of a handstand or we're going into a cartwheel. So this way we're getting comfortable with it. All right, now this next progression is for those of us who are pretty flexible. I know for me, when I was first learning my front handspring, there's no way I could do this, but if you have a good back bridge, you can start learning your front walkover, or where you kick into the handstand and then go into your back bridge, and I'll show you real quick. So same technique as before. You can start in a lunge, or you can start from here. You're gonna go into your handstand and then drop down into that back bridge. I just lost my phone. But that's that one if you feel comfortable with that back bridge. For some of us, we probably don't. So if you have that, another progression is just using a trampoline. If you can find a trampoline, it's going to be a lot softer, it's going to give you more spring, and you're really able to practice that good technique without worried about getting as injured. And then once you have these down pretty comfortable, you can start attempting your front handspring, really start going for it. For some of us though, if we're just not able to really go for it there, you can start to learn your kip, because the kip up is really the second part of your front handspring. You're going to develop a lot of good push strength and then also flexibility and core strength by doing the kip up. So I'll show you real quick. You can do it like that. It's pretty much the same type of technique there you're going to be learning. Now I have a tutorial, I'll link to it at the end of this video, on the kip up if you want to learn that move. And then another technique I saw to gradually learn this, I saw it on a really good YouTube video for the front handspring, and that is, instead of just going straight for it, you can make it easier on yourself and less scary by going to the side. So you do the same setup here, but instead of going straight over, you're going to turn as you would for a cartwheel. So you can go ahead and get comfortable with going over and at least performing a move where you're landing back on your feet. Then once you get the cartwheel comfortable, you're going to straighten your arms out and slowly correct it so you're going straight over the top. So you do sideways cartwheel, Then you start to straighten it. A little more. You're gonna be kind of opening up with it. You know, it's a little funky looking, but you do get more comfortable with it, and it's a way you can gradually progress on grass like this. And then you finally go straight. All right, so that's the front handspring. That's the technique and the gradual progression steps you can start implementing right now to get this move down. Now, I just want to really touch on the importance of getting those prerequisites, because if you get that handstand, you're going to develop the strength here to go into that shape. It's huge for the front handspring. Then the back bridge, getting that flexibility and strength to hold in this position. And you want to get a good back bridge. And this isn't just good for the front handspring, this is good for all of your flips. You get a good handstand, you get a good back bridge, you get that flexibility and strength, you're going to be able to easily learn these types of moves. So I really want you to focus on getting those moves down first. So I'm going to link to those prerequisites I talked about in the description below. I'm also going to give you a link to a warm-up, because the warm-up is very important to make sure that we target, you know, the muscles and the joints that we're going to be using for your training. Also, if you're looking to learn your front flip, I know a lot of us, if we're trying to learn our front handspring, we're going to want to progress to learn our front flip. My buddy DeAndre, he was on here a few weeks ago, and he had a front flip program, and he takes you from square zero all the way from level 0 to learning your front flip. So you learn the front handspring along with front handspring off of things, and then you also get your front flip. He's already got guys learn the front flip from when he put it out, you know, I think it was about a month or two ago. Guys are already learning their front flips. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out in the description as well. I'll put a link to that. As always, train safe. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Also, leave a comment below with your thoughts on the front handspring and other tutorials that you want to learn in the future. So go out there and start learning the front handspring. Peace.